Hello. Today a small problem that I made 45 years ago. I still like it, so I present you this today. It's a mate in 4 moves. You will find the position beneath the video in FEN, in algebraic notation, with the full solution and all the details, name of author, place of publication, all that kind of things. Those who want to solve can solve immediately. I begin the first explanations, and let's have a look at the position and at the way the squares around the king are guarded. The black bishop is free. With the pawn d7, it's the only piece that can move at the diagram. The king is well closed. The knight d3 controls on c5 and on e5. The knight a2 controls c3, and the queen on f2 controls e3, pinning the black knight, so the 4 black squares are controlled by the white pieces. The 2 knights are on white squares. The light squares are controlled by the pawns, so the pawn f3 controls e4, the pawn e4 controls d5, the pawn c4 controls also d5, the pawn b3 controls c4, and the square d3 is controlled by the bishop, by the pawn e2, and by the rook d2. Many white pieces are on light squares, and the pieces on light squares control all the squares around the king, so that the bishop cannot give a flight at all. Let's have a look at the possibilities. People who want to solve now can begin also to solve, and I give some tries now. So the first natural try is to activate the queen to play on g1 that threatens on g7, but the bishop can go to f8 and control g7, and then we cannot do much more. We can imagine to go to h2, threatening on f4. I can simply defend f4 by the knight. White will be able to check, the knight will come back, and then you will have the mate. On queen h2 you have bishop d6, and it's enough. Another possibility is to take the rook a1 to play it on c1 in order to play the bishop or on d1 or in b1, and then to play the knight on c3, and then to give mate on b5. It may seem a little bit slow, but in fact it's not easy for black to defend this. If the bishop plays anywhere, white let the rook control c3, threatening knight a2 to c3. If the bishop goes on b4, it will be taken. The pawn will need to move because there is no other move for black, and then we'll have mate on c6. The bishop will need to control c3 immediately, because now the rook did not yet control c3. Then the bishop cannot be taken, and if the bishop opens the rook, the black bishop will be able to go to a5, because now 2 white move has been played, and if the queen goes to g1 to threaten, the bishop will be able to go to c7 or to d8, and it will be enough. You will have mate only on 5 moves. And on a5 you cannot capture the bishop, so it works. And of course, if you go rook c1, the bishop cannot go through b6 because of queen g1. Another possible try is king to h2 with the idea of putting the rook on h1 and then to put the queen on g1 and then to have two threats on g7 and on e1. So, for example, if you play king h2, if the bishop goes anywhere, you will put the rook on h1, the bishop plays, the queen plays with the two threats, and the bishop cannot control on both sides at the same time, so it will be a mate. But after king h2, black can manage to give a check, because now the king is on the black square. So you have bishop e7, rook h1 as we want, and bishop takes on h4, queen to g1 to threaten here and there. But now bishop checks, and we have not the mate on the fourth moves. We need one more move, and it's too much. So people who want to solve now can still solve now. I give the solution immediately. We want to get rid of the rook in order to put the queen on g1 and give two threats. The solution is rook to g1, a little bit paradoxical if we want, because you want to put the queen there and you put a white piece immediately on this. Let's say the bishop goes to e7 or to any square on the diagonal a3 f8, rook to g8 in order to free the way for the queen, and then bishop plays anywhere, queen to g1, bishop plays, and then here queen a1, and if the bishop played, let's say, on this side of the king, you will have this mate. So here it is, the solution, not very complex, but not so easy to find by yourself. I hope you enjoyed it. For me it's 45 years old, but I still like it, so I hope you too, and let's see you next time. Thank you. Bye.